The family that vacations together stays together. At least, that was the plan. Except now, the dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for the stay.
Finish training for the day? Time to fight post-workout fatigue with Core Power Protein Shakes. They're packed with 26 grams of high-quality protein to build muscle and electrolytes to help hydrate. The nutrition you need to help your body replenish, rebuild, and repair post-workout so you can power on to the next one. Champion your recovery with Core Power. Visit corepower.com to learn more.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
I'm Gary Birtles, one of the old gits from a long time ago. You've got to tune into Tricky Talks, I believe, so just do it. All the best.
Robertson, the first time we've seen them attack them, and there's Francis! Well, that's what I wanted to see Robertson do. And still Robertson, getting his shot in, and a goal! Robertson!
Hello and welcome to an emergency Tricky Talks podcast. So after 39 days, it's ironic that Forest issue a 39-word statement 19 minutes after the final whistle confirming that Ange Postecoglou has finally been relieved of his duties as head coach. So after weeks of speculation, it's finally happened. And guys, it's one of those moments where you look back and think, where were you when John Lennon was shot? Where were you when the Twin Towers collapsed? And as Forest fans, it's so close to home. Where were you when Ange Postecoglou got sacked? I was in the car listening to Radio 5 Live, breaking news from Mark Chapman. Kate, Mollo, where were you guys when you heard the news?
I think I was trying to convince Andy Reid to record an intro for for Tricky Talks. I was hanging around like a stalker in the ground like that, waiting for everyone to stop talking to him. And then, my phone beeped and there he was gone, as they say.
Mono.
I was in Wingers in West Bridgford on Bridgford Road on my way home with my young lad, getting him some chicken and chips to cheer him up after an abysmal second half performance. And the thing that's cheered him up in the end, sadly, is when another man has lost his job.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the reaction of a lot of Forest fans, isn't it? Almost like finally being put out of their misery and we can start to look forward with a bit of optimism and a bit of hope. And the writing was on the wall during the game. As you say, Mollo, it wasn't a great second half. We'll talk about the game itself more on our Monday show as normal. So we'll focus on Ange today and the reaction. But as I said, the writing was on the wall. After 67 minutes, he'd actually vacated his seat in the Peter Taylor stand. And you read between the lines, and there can only be one reason why he would have left the game that early, and that was to sort out that 39-word statement, Kate.
Yeah, and that was the thing, because obviously you texted us that, didn't you, to say that Marinakis had left his seat. So I leaned over to my brother and said, Marinakis has left his seat. And it was inevitable. Oh, God, here we are with the word inevitable again. It felt inevitable when that third goal went in for me. You know, the first half, I know we're going to cover this a lot more on Monday, but the first half was better. But the only word I could come up with for it was flimsy. It felt like, yeah, okay, we're just about, you know, we've got some possession and we're creating some chances. But it was like that House of Cards effect. You didn't feel comfortable with it. You thought any second now. And then, I mean, it took till the second half. And yeah, once that third goal went in, I just thought, there's no argument to keep him anymore, is there? There just isn't.
We'll talk about what it was like in the stadium throughout the second half, and particularly at the final whistle in a moment. But from watching it on TV, you get a different sense of perspective around how Ange was feeling, because they had the cameras on him pretty much the whole time from the final whistle all the way through to the moment he trudged off down the tunnel. And I don't know if you guys could see from where you were, but he stood near the centre spot on his own, just looking around, clapping the players. He cut a lonely figure. He was on his own, and he just looked so sorry for himself. And it was almost like you got the sense that he knew that it was going to happen, because he was just there, stood on his own, watching everything and shaking his own teammates' hands, almost to say thank you for your efforts, kind of thing. Didn't bother too much with the opposition from what I could see, but it was almost as if he knew. And there was no, and again, we'll go into what you felt in the stadium, but when the final whistle went, it just felt flat, and it felt like it was inevitable. There were not too many boos, because I think the crowd had just pretty much accepted the fact that it would be pointless. So, Guy, Mollo, what did you think as the final whistle went in particular? What was your initial thoughts on how the crowd were and how you felt?
I think the crowd stayed with the team for most of the game. Obviously, I get slaughtered for this, but generally speaking, our most passionate fans are obviously in A block, and that passion can spill both ways. So there was the chant. I was dreading and joining in with Chelsea's Mickey take it chants, but they didn't. So a number of people were singing again. They were wrong, though. You're getting sacked in a minute, as a Chelsea fan sang, rather than in the morning. But the atmosphere was generally not too bad. The second goal wasn't great in terms of there was a moment of people kind of, and then there was a kind of come on you Reds, and people started getting behind the team. I think, I know it's cliche, inevitability, but the only thing I can compare it to not even in my lifetime really, because I don't remember it, is when Leeds United appointed Brian Clough after he clearly wasn't the right fit because of everything he'd said about them. Marinakis, who's, he can do what he wants in the terms of appointment, and Edu, let's not forget his part. They've appointed the wrong guy, and it got to a point where they've just had to cut their losses and move forward. And I felt it was quite angry outside as we're leaving. We had to hang around because Ellie had to do a interview with TNT, and people were walking by and basically saying, "Get him out, sack Ange," and all that. But he was. We can analyse it however we like. Unfortunately, he's doomed from the start. No one really wanted him there. They're waiting for him to fail. The press, the rhetoric around him before he came was a problem, and that's how it's ended up. They say, don't they, in life, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. And he has been seriously unlucky, because we'll talk about the game on Monday. We buried Chelsea that first half. We created 4 gilt-edged chances. I haven't watched it back, but if Gibbs White heads the ball instead of trying a silly volley, he probably scores. We should have been at least 2 up by half-time, but we weren't. And that's the difference. At half-time, everybody I spoke to, people on the groups I'm in, we've missed our chance now. We should be winning this. And that was the thing. So I think the inevitability of it, and we just got to move forward, get behind whoever the next guy is, there's all sorts of rumours. He tried his best, but ultimately he just wasn't good enough to come in a difficult... He's come into a bad situation, but made it worse. And that's the ultimate thing. 39 days and 0 wins in 8 games, is it? I've lost count now. That's not great, is it?
I mean, TNT broadcast a segment where a tunnel reporter, Jules Breach, I think it was, she was commenting on the fact that they were interviewing Morgan Gibbs-White after the game, and it was literally as they were wrapping up that interview that the news broke. But you have a story as well, Kate, don't you, about another incident that happened, which makes you wonder that Ange Postecoglou didn't actually hang around for very long after the final whistle. So you can maybe make an assumption that he was told pretty quickly after the game that he'd lost his job. But it seemed as though the players were kind of wrapping up and recovering themselves, and they were called to an emergency meeting in the boardroom, by which time Ange, it appears, has already left the ground at that point. And you've got a quick story to tell on that note, haven't you, Kate?
Yes, and I think they said that on Radio Nottingham as well, that they saw him pick up his backpack and go before any press interviews, so he knew. And yeah, one of the Garibaldi girls was walking over Trent Bridge with her little one, and they saw him driving out and stopped him for a picture, which he very obligingly posed for with a smile on his face. So it wasn't a taxi for Ange, he drove himself out, quite literally.
Yeah, he did. I mean, you're right, it didn't work. It's unfortunate. It's going to go down as one of the most disastrous periods of Forest history, one of the darkest times, considering the season promised so much. I think it's the second shortest managerial reign in the Premier League ever, behind Sam Allardyce's 30 days for Leeds back in the early 2000s. However, that was at the end of the season, I believe, when he tried to keep them up. So it's clearly not worked. The good news is, I think, is that there is plenty of time to turn the season around, isn't there? I know it's been a wasted 39 days. It's been a wasted 8 or 9 games that he's been in charge, but it's time to look forward now, isn't it? And think about what a new manager can do to rescue the season and turn it around.
So yeah, I think I said that we've got to take it game by game. And that's exactly what we've done. And today was nowhere near where it needed to be. And I take the point that, yeah, we created and we should have had goals. And that even that one in the second half with Igor Jesus, where you were already on your feet because you thought it had crossed the line and it hadn't. You know, that is unlucky. Like any other game, any other day of the week, any other player, any other time. That is absolutely in the back of the net. I don't know that we are rescuing a season in October. I think I granted, last time I checked before we came on recording, we were in the bottom 3 because Burnley were winning. I don't know if that's still the case. We've still got a lot of time ahead of us. And that is what I am hoping for, that we are going for somebody who is going to take us forward this season. You know, we aren't at the end of the season. We aren't in a keep us up at all costs situation just yet, purely because of the amount of time that there is and the amount of competitions that we're still in and the amount of minutes left to play and balls left to kick. So I assume there is a plan. I assume we're going to be let into what this plan is quite quickly. I don't think it's a search from now. I imagine that search has already been done. We know the names that we've heard, one name in particular. Yeah, let's see what happens. Let's ride that roller coaster a little bit more.
Just want to talk about the players' reaction to the news, because I mentioned that they were called to an emergency meeting in the boardroom, and that was courtesy of Jules Breach in TNT. But interestingly, the Forest statement was posted on Instagram, which was liked by Murillo, amongst others. So, you know, is that a reflection of what he as an individual is thinking in terms of good riddance, or why would he like that statement, Mollo?
That's got to be a language issue, hasn't it? Got to be. No professional footballer would do that at that point in time. I genuinely think that's an innocent mistake that he's got to be careful of. I know it's not a nasty mistake to anyone else, but that's got to be a mistake. But what I will say, and I'm going to go diametrically opposite to what you said there, Kate.
Just for change.
A relegation battle, and anyone who can't see that isn't paying attention, because that was a bunch of players lacking in confidence on that pitch today. People are going to slaughter Gibbs White because he lost the ball and then gave away the free kick for the first goal and all that sort of thing. But at least him and Anderson wanted the ball and were passing forwards consistently after those goals. There were a lot of players there. I hate doing this, but a lot of sideways and backwards passing, a lot of easy options, and it's a natural thing. I think it was it. Giving Neil Warnock the credit for saying there's no such thing as a confidence pill in football. A new manager doesn't do that instantly necessarily either. That is a team that, they've got some great players on paper, but football's played on the grass, and they were dire. That second half was dire. We were in a relegation fight. We all need to wake up and see that. And that could change. There is a lot of time left, and 4 or 5 wins. But I'm saying 4 or 5 wins. We're near November. I haven't seen a win since mid-August. You know.
I mean,
my money situation could be amazing if I win the lottery tonight. You know.
Yeah, no. I take your point. I can assure you, I am paying attention. What I just mean that most of the time when you're in this situation and you're sacking a manager and you're bringing someone else in to avoid relegation, you are further on in the season. It's not a bad thing that we're in October. And of course, yes, we're down in relegation. We absolutely need the wins and get points on the board.
And someone to rescue our season, definitely. Definitely.
Kickstart? Can we go kickstart?
Kickstart, yeah, kickstart.
Yeah, semantics.
Kickstart.
We need to rescue our season. We're in the bottom three, as you say.
Yeah.
We've got a tough run ahead of us still, so we could be entrenched in the bottom three.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not trying to be negative saying this. What I'm saying is we've got to be realistic. We need someone who can get more out of those players, that can stop us conceding ridiculous goals at set pieces, that can remind our absolutely amazing goalkeeper what his job is, and all the very basics of football we're not doing, because we're just not doing it. And I don't care if it's Sean Dyche, Big Ron or Red Adair, someone has got to rescue our season because we're in trouble.
Conceding those goals from set pieces certainly
stinks of relegation.
Is an advert for Dyche, isn't it? That is an advert for Dyche.
Yeah,
there's no
that performance today stunk of a team struggling against relegation, to put it calmly. It was horrendous. Obviously it's quite soon after the game, so I'm slightly emotional still. And I haven't watched it back, but the goals were all right in front of me. They were shocking.
Yeah,
absolutely shocking.
We'll go further into the goals on Monday's show, of course, and the general overall performance. But Danny's just messaged me to say that Murillo has unliked that post.
Yeah, I thought that was a mistake, to be fair.
Yeah, so he's upstairs listening, so he can hear. So he's definitely unliked that. And I'm already starting to get stick from a mate. So I mentioned them on the last show. And they're already messaging the group saying, does anyone know whose turn it is to manage Forest this month?
Just because we stole their best player.
The good news is, and let's look ahead slightly, is that whoever is in charge for Porto this coming Thursday and subsequent league fixtures beyond that, it's going to be, you would imagine, a completely different style of play because the current style is not working. So those teams, those scouts for those teams are not going to have anything to work on other than seeing what other teams have done with regards to scoring goals from set pieces. So you'd like to think a blank sheet of paper for whoever looks after those teams are going to have almost like an element of surprise because the opposition don't know how Forest are going to necessarily play. Porto especially, it'll be interesting to see whether they can get some sort of identity in a very short space of time prior to that game. So obviously they'll have slightly, almost a week and a bit for the next league game. Maybe that could be a positive in terms of how Forest can approach the next few games. Right, just turning attention, are you guys, we've mentioned Sean Dyche, any other names that you think could be in the frame? Marinakis does have a history of having a plan B up his sleeve. He doesn't hang around too long. Sean Dyche is the obvious one because he's available and he's out of work, and all of the reasons why that we went into on the last show, but anybody else spring to mind as somebody who you might think could come in and do that kickstart or that rescue job, however you want to look at it?
I mean, I know there was some talk about Benitez, but please not Benitez. I know we did the not Ange, but now we can move on to the not Benitez. I mean, definitely Dyche over Benitez. Other than that, I think it's more about managers that we would like, but there isn't really any tenuous link to us getting. So, I mean, I'm expecting Dyche incoming.
There was a name put forward by Danny, Edin Terzic, who took Dortmund to the Champions League final, who is currently out of work. I mentioned it on Door's show, Kate, that you were on a few weeks back. Can't remember Mollo, whether you were on that show or not, but maybe he's an outside name that could come from left field, perhaps. But Benitez, apparently I read a rumour on Twitter, and this is really funny, that he was on some sort of retainer not to take another job in case he was needed at Forest. So yeah. I don't know where that came from, but that'd be hilarious if that was the case, getting paid to do nothing.
Yeah, I did look at that guy that you mentioned on Door on Tour, but he did seem to lack some experience to me. That was
Premier League.
Well, yeah. From what I read about him, it would be another big gamble. I get why the link is there, but it would be another big gamble.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, you need somebody with a proven track record, don't you, in our position? I don't think we can afford to take another gamble. To have 4 managers in a season would be unprecedented.
No, I know. But even though when you look at it, though, Nuno to Ange to Dyche does look like utter madness, doesn't it?
It does. Right. I know we've all got plans on this lovely Saturday afternoon. So any final thoughts before we call it a day?
Got to get behind the boys, and whatever happens now. As we're walking out the ground, someone said, it's mad. We're all really disappointed, and we're coming back Thursday to play the team at the top of the Portuguese league in a European competition. So there's plenty of things to look forward to, but one of those things we've not got to look forward to, unfortunately, we are looking forward to, but not looking forward to, is our fight against relegation.
Okay.
Game, though, for a new caretaker manager bounce against Porto.
Yeah.
That would be good. Yeah, I suspect by then we will know exactly who is taking over. I don't think he's going to waste much time. He certainly didn't waste much time in sacking him after that game, did he? So maybe today, maybe tomorrow, but hopefully by the time we record on Monday, we'll be saying, "Welcome, our new manager. Let's
Andy
talk
Reid.
about what we think about him."
Yeah. What about Andy Reid as a temporary interim to take us through Thursday, perhaps?
Well, he wasn't going anywhere, I have to say. He was very settled in his seat, and so I suspect that he perhaps already knew when I was speaking to him. You never know. You never know.
You never know.
Someone's going to have to look after training the next couple of days as well, aren't they? But there we go. Anyway, onwards and hopefully upwards.
Right, that's it from us. Thanks again for listening, guys. We'll be back to you on Monday where we'll do some more detail on the Chelsea game and look forward to Porto in the Europa League. Bye for now.
Emotional. Sorry.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Help DEA keep our communities safe and healthy by participating in National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, Saturday, October 25th. Take action right in your own home by cleaning out your medicine cabinet of unneeded medications. Keep them safe, clean them out, take them back. Find a collection site near you at DEATakeback.com. Do your part to lower overdose deaths and prevent prescription drug misuse before it starts. That's DEATakeback.com.